What if the life you're living right now is only a fraction of the life you were meant for? What if, buried beneath your daily routines, your doubts, your distractions, there was a quiet brilliance inside of you, waiting to be awakened? This is the question mastery asks. And for those brave enough to answer, the path forward is nothing short of extraordinary. Robert Greene, the best-selling author of the 48 Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction, and the 33 Strategies of War, wrote Mastery in 2012 after years of studying the world's most brilliant minds. But unlike his earlier books, which focused on strategy and power, this one goes deeper, into the soul of achievement. It's not about manipulation. It's not about beating others. It's about becoming the greatest version of yourself. From Leonardo da Vinci sketching birds in secret as a boy, to Mozart's obsessive dedication to music, to Darwin spending years observing the tiniest differences in plant species. Greene dissects what makes a genius, a master, a legend. But he reveals a truth that most people don't want to hear. These people weren't born extraordinary. They became extraordinary through process, through discipline, through time. And here's where the book becomes life-changing. Greene shows us that you, yes you, have access to the same process. You have a natural inclination, a unique intelligence, something that fascinated you as a child or pulls at you quietly even now. That's your life's task. And the moment you start listening to it, everything begins to change. But mastery is not a quick climb. It's a journey that moves through frustration, rejection, solitude, and long hours of invisible effort. Greene calls this phase the apprenticeship, and it is sacred. It's where the real transformation begins, where your ego is stripped away and your skill is slowly, methodically built. And then there's the mentor. The guiding force who lights your way, shortens the path, challenges your thinking. This relationship is not just instructional, it's alchemical. Through mentorship, you absorb more than knowledge. You absorb energy, style, and vision. As you evolve, you begin to see through people. You understand their motivations, their fears, their patterns. This is social intelligence, and it's the armor that protects your inner genius from outer chaos. Then something happens, you begin to break the rules. Not recklessly, but with purpose. Your creativity explodes. Patterns form in your mind. You enter the creative active phase, where innovation flows and your unique voice begins to emerge. And finally, if you stay the course, if you never abandon your task, if you trust the process, you will arrive at a state few people ever experience: mastery. It's not just about skill anymore. It's about intuition, flow, presence. You don't think you know. You don't push, you move effortlessly. And the world begins to respond to you as if it recognizes your frequency. Because it does. Mastery isn't for the impatient. It isn't for the easily distracted. It's for the soul that refuses to settle. The artist, the athlete, the leader, the entrepreneur, the one who says, "I know I'm capable of more." This book is not a map. It's a mirror. A reflection of who you could be if you stopped running, stopped scrolling, stopped doubting, and started doing the deep work. If you've ever felt like your potential was slipping through your fingers. If you've ever known that you were made for something greater. If you've ever wanted to create a legacy that outlives you, then this is your moment. This is your guide. This is mastery. Let's begin the journey. Chapter 1. Discover your calling, the life's task. Every single person comes into this world with a unique gift. A set of inclinations, instincts, and curiosities that whisper to them in childhood and tug at their attention even as they grow older. But most people, distracted by expectations, obligations, and the noise of modern life, never learn to listen to that whisper. Instead, they follow someone else's path. They get good at things they don't care about. They succeed at goals they never truly chose. And somewhere along the way, they lose touch with who they were meant to be. But not the masters. The greats, Mozart, Einstein, Marie Curie, Temple Grandin, they all began by tuning into something deeper. A natural calling. An obsession. A fascination they couldn't ignore. Robert Greene calls this the life's task, and it's the first, most important step on the path to mastery. This chapter is not just about career choice. It's about spiritual alignment. It's about remembering who you are at your core, before the world told you who to be. Greene shows us how childhood holds the clues. Look back at what you loved before rewards or recognition mattered. Did you lose hours drawing, building, exploring, organizing, fixing, creating? That wasn't random. That was your inner genius showing itself in raw, unshaped form. But as we grow older, society pushes us toward the practical. Parents want security. Schools value conformity. Friends chase trends. And soon, that original voice gets quieter, until it disappears under a pile of expectations. The masters, though, they fight to keep that voice alive. Or if they've lost it, they fight to rediscover it. That's what Charles Darwin did. Early in life, he was seen as a disappointment, aimless, not academic. But when he was given the chance to travel on the HMS Beagle and observe nature, something lit up inside him. He wasn't just interested in animals. He was obsessed with understanding life itself. That moment of clarity shaped the rest of his work, and the world would never be the same. The truth is, most of us aren't handed perfect opportunities to follow our passions. The path is rarely obvious. But Greene emphasizes that your life's task is not found in a flash. It's uncovered through exploration. It's something you move toward, not something you wait for. It begins with curiosity, and deepens through trial and error. It requires patience and self-trust. He warns us, when you choose a path just for money, status, or safety, you'll eventually hit a wall. Because the energy it takes to master something is so intense, only a deep emotional connection can sustain it. If the task is not yours, the effort will feel like suffering. But when the work flows from your nature, even the hard parts feel purposeful. And here's where Greene gives us power. He shows that no matter your age or background, it's never too late to realign. He tells the story of Buckminster Fuller, who at 32 was broke, suicidal, and lost. But after a moment of spiritual clarity, he decided to dedicate his life not to chasing wealth, but to solving problems for humanity using design. That decision transformed him into one of the most celebrated thinkers and innovators of the 20th century. This chapter teaches us that greatness begins with permission. Permission to honor your instincts. Permission to leave the wrong path. Permission to dream, even if the world doesn't understand. The key is attention. Pay attention to what draws you in. To what makes you lose track of time. To what gives you energy instead of draining it. Because mastery is not about doing more. It's about doing what is yours to do, and doing it completely. And once you've found that direction, however vague or messy at first, Greene tells us to commit to it. Make it your center of gravity. Organize your life around it. Because the life's task isn't just about work, it's about becoming who you were meant to be. This chapter ends with one clear, soul-shaking message: you have a calling. You were born with it. And the world needs you to answer it, now. Next is Chapter 2, Submit to Reality. The ideal apprenticeship. Now that you've begun to discover your life's task, the unique path that speaks to your deepest instincts, it's time to face the truth about what it really takes to pursue it. And this truth is not glamorous. It doesn't come wrapped in excitement or immediate rewards. In fact, it can feel slow, humbling, even boring. But it is absolutely essential. This chapter is about apprenticeship, the long, often invisible period of growth where mastery is silently forged. Robert Greene opens this part of the journey with a sobering idea. Too many people want the result without the process. We live in a world addicted to shortcuts, online fame, viral success, quick money, instant influence. But beneath every true master is a stretch of time where they did the hard, uncelebrated work. They submitted to their craft. They showed up day after day, absorbing the details, making mistakes, learning from mentors, and sharpening their edge. And here's the key: they didn't rush it. The apprenticeship phase is where you build your foundation. Greene describes it as your personal laboratory, a place where you experiment, test your limits, and absorb information like a sponge. During this time, you may feel invisible. You might not get recognition. But that's the point. Without the pressure of performance, you're free to fail forward, to take bold risks and make essential mistakes. He gives the example of Leonardo da Vinci. Before he painted the Mona Lisa or sketched flying machines, Leonardo spent years apprenticing under master artists in Florence. He mixed paints, studied anatomy, designed weapons, and took on mundane tasks most would consider beneath them. But Leonardo understood something critical: no step was wasted. Every stroke, every study, every observation was building a skill set so deep and refined that eventually, his work would outshine all who came before him. Greene also tells the story of Benjamin Franklin, who, as a young man, worked in a print shop. Instead of complaining about the tedious work, Franklin used it to sharpen his writing, his reasoning, and his discipline. He even rewrote articles from memory to study sentence structure and logic. That invisible grind led him to become one of the greatest minds in American history. The lesson? Whatever field you choose, whether it's writing, business, art, technology, or science, you must submit to reality. You must become a student, not a performer. You must slow down to speed up. But Greene doesn't sugarcoat it. The apprenticeship phase can be painful. Your ego will resist. You'll want to prove yourself too soon. You'll compare your early steps to someone else's finish line. But if you try to skip this part, you rob yourself of the very depth that separates amateurs from masters. Another powerful concept in this chapter is the emotional pit. At some point during your apprenticeship, you'll hit a wall. Frustration will rise. Doubt will creep in. You might question your path entirely. This is normal and necessary. Greene urges us to stay in the discomfort, because on the other side of that wall is transformation. And here's what few people understand: the most valuable skills are often the least glamorous. Learning how to observe, how to take criticism, how to ask questions, how to listen deeply, how to build resilience. These are not things you can learn from a podcast or a YouTube video. You earn them over time, through presence, patience, and repetition. This chapter also challenges the modern obsession with passion alone. Passion is fuel, yes, but without structure, discipline, and skill, it burns out quickly. Apprenticeship gives your passion a container. It turns raw energy into focused power. And finally, Greene reminds us of this: the masters didn't always feel like masters. During their apprenticeship, they felt lost, doubtful, ordinary. But they showed up anyway. And over time, their consistent action became genius in motion. So, wherever you are in your journey, whether you're just starting or you've been at it for years, ask yourself, have I truly submitted to the process? Have I embraced the learning, the humility, the grind? Am I building a foundation strong enough to support the weight of future greatness? Because mastery is not about talent. It's about time, attention, and the willingness to be a student of your craft, no matter how long it takes. Let this chapter be your reminder: slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. And the path to power begins in the shadows, not the spotlight. Now, Chapter 3: Absorb the Master's Power. The mentor dynamic. After understanding the importance of apprenticeship, the natural question becomes, how do we make the most of it? How do we accelerate our growth while still honoring the slow burn of learning? That's where this next piece of the puzzle comes in: the power of the mentor. Robert Greene opens this chapter with a truth as old as time: we rise faster when we learn from someone who has already walked the path. A mentor is not just a teacher. They are a living blueprint. Someone who reflects back to us what's possible, and who pushes us beyond our self-imposed limits. They are our shortcut, not to mastery itself, but to deeper insight, sharper awareness, and a richer understanding of our craft. Throughout history, mentorship has been the secret behind many of the world's greatest talents. Greene takes us back to the story of Michael Faraday, a young bookbinder's apprentice with no formal education. But Faraday had a burning curiosity about science. He attended lectures, took obsessive notes, and eventually caught the attention of the great chemist Sir Humphrey Davy. Faraday offered to work for free, just for the opportunity to learn. Davy took him on, and over time, Faraday didn't just become a brilliant scientist, he far surpassed his mentor, laying the groundwork for the entire field of electromagnetism. The lesson here is crucial. A great mentor doesn't make you a copy of themselves. They help you unlock your own genius. But first, you have to be willing to submit, to accept guidance, to observe deeply, to humble yourself enough to ask for help. Greene explains that choosing the right mentor isn't about finding someone famous or flashy. It's about finding someone whose work speaks to your deeper vision. Someone who challenges you. Someone who sees your potential, even when you can't see it yourself. He also breaks down how the mentor-mentee relationship is a dance of energy. A good mentor offers structure and wisdom. A good student brings hunger and discipline. The mentor gives shape, the mentee brings fire. When these elements are in balance, transformation happens quickly. But Greene also warns us, not every mentor is perfect. In fact, some may have flaws, or even insecurities. And that's okay. Because the true power of mentorship isn't just in copying techniques. It's in learning how to think, how to see, how to make sense of complexity. You absorb the framework, not just the formulas. He uses the example of Carl Jung, who was mentored by the great Sigmund Freud. At first, Jung was devoted, absorbing Freud's theories and working alongside him closely. But eventually, Jung began to see the limitations in Freud's thinking. He evolved beyond him, creating his own groundbreaking ideas about the psyche. This is the deeper role of a mentor, not just to teach you what to think, but to help you find your own voice. And this is where the real magic happens. Mentorship is not about dependency. It's about transformation. The best mentors prepare you to outgrow them. They want you to move beyond their shadow and shine in your own light. It's not about staying attached, but about becoming whole. If you can't find a mentor in person, Greene encourages you to seek them in books, biographies, recorded interviews. Learn by proxy. Absorb their story. Study their process. A mentor doesn't always need to be physically present. They just need to live in your consciousness as a guiding force. This chapter closes with a call to action. If you haven't found a mentor, start looking. And if one appears, don't let your pride get in the way. Be open. Be grateful. Be relentless in your desire to learn. Because the right mentor can save you years, maybe decades, of trial and error. They show you what's possible, and how to claim it. So, what do you do when you meet someone wiser, sharper, more experienced than you? You listen. You observe. You absorb. And then, eventually, you surpass. Because mentorship isn't about staying under someone forever. It's about standing on their shoulders, so you can see farther than they ever did. Next is Chapter 4. See people as they are, social intelligence. You can have the perfect plan. You can work day and night on your craft. You can read every book, watch every tutorial, and take every course. But if you don't understand people, real mastery will slip right through your fingers. This is where Robert Greene gets honest with us. Because up until now, we've been focusing inward, your passion, your apprenticeship, your mentors. But now, we need to look outward. And not at the world as we wish it were, but as it actually is. Because the reality is, people are complicated. They're emotional. They have egos. They play games. And if you want to master anything in life, you have to master the art of reading people. This chapter is all about social intelligence, and Greene doesn't sugarcoat its importance. He says it flat out. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if you constantly misread people, trust the wrong ones, or alienate the right ones, you will sabotage your own success again and again. So what is social intelligence, really? It's the ability to observe others without judgment. It's seeing their drives, their insecurities, their true emotions, not through the lens of what you want them to be, but as they actually are. It's learning to tune in without getting sucked in. To understand without reacting. And it's absolutely essential if you want to navigate life, especially your professional life, with any real power. Let's rewind a bit to bring this to life. One of the most compelling examples in this chapter is the story of Temple Grandin. Temple was born with autism, and in her early years, the social world felt alien to her. She didn't understand the way people communicated. But instead of retreating, she did something extraordinary. She studied human behavior. Like a scientist. She watched, she listened, and she decoded emotional patterns the same way she studied animals. Temple Grandin ended up revolutionizing the cattle industry, not just because of her intellect, but because she understood perception. She could see things others overlooked, subtle cues, emotional triggers, the unseen fears driving behavior. And that's exactly what social intelligence is about. It's seeing beneath the surface. Greene makes it clear, this isn't about being slick or manipulative. It's about awareness. It's about knowing when someone is being sincere, and when they're just trying to look good. It's about sensing jealousy before it turns into sabotage. It's about noticing when someone's smile doesn't match their eyes. Most people miss these signals. Masters never do. Now, why is this so hard for most of us? Because we see the world through our own filters. We assume others think like we do. We project our hopes, our fears, our insecurities onto people. And then act surprised when they behave differently. Greene says this is a critical mistake. To master social intelligence, you have to remove the filter. You have to watch without expectation. Listen without judgment. He also introduces a powerful concept, tactical detachment. That means you learn to step back emotionally. You don't get defensive. You don't personalize every comment or critique. Instead, you stay cool, calm, collected. You study the energy in the room. You learn who's who. You take mental notes. Think of it like being a director, not an actor. You're not just in the scene, you're watching it from the outside. And when you do that, you start to see things very, very clearly. This doesn't mean you become cold or manipulative. In fact, Greene makes a crucial point. Those who truly understand people are often the most empathetic. Why? Because they get it. They see the pain behind the arrogance, the fear behind the aggression, the insecurity behind the ego. And once you see it, you can respond, not from emotion, but from wisdom. He also warns us about two types of people to avoid on your journey. 1. The passive-aggressive saboteur. These are the folks who smile to your face but quietly work against you behind closed doors. And 2. The emotional vampire. People who drain your energy, create drama, and constantly pull you into their storm. If you don't learn to identify these people early, you'll spend more time managing chaos than creating progress. So how do you build this muscle? Greene tells us to start observing. Not just people, but yourself. Notice how you react to others. Notice your blind spots. Start listening more. Talk less. Watch body language. Study what's not being said. Learn the difference between what someone says and what they mean. And perhaps most importantly, let go of the need for people to behave a certain way. That attachment is what creates frustration. Once you release that, you see people clearly. You move more freely. You stop stepping into emotional traps. Because the truth is, mastery is not a solo journey. It happens in the real world. With real people. And the more socially intelligent you become, the more doors will open, and the fewer doors will close behind your back. So when you walk into a room, don't just think about what you want to say. Start asking, who in here is really listening? Who's posturing? Who's hiding something? And who sees me clearly? Because the better you are at reading people, the more precise and powerful your next move will be. Now we are at Chapter 5, Awaken the Dimensional Mind, the Creative Active Phase. Deep dive audiobook-style narration. In depth and engaging at this point in the journey toward mastery, you've discovered your life's task. You've gone through the grind of apprenticeship. You've begun to navigate the social world with sharper awareness. And now, you're ready to step into a higher gear. This is where things start to get really exciting. In Chapter 5, Robert Greene introduces us to a transformative phase he calls the creative active phase, where everything you've absorbed, practiced, and internalized begins to morph into something new. Something that is uniquely yours. This phase is not about repeating what you've learned. It's about evolving it. It's about using your accumulated knowledge not just to perform, but to create, innovate, and redefine the game itself. Greene calls this the awakening of the dimensional mind. So, what exactly is the dimensional mind? Picture the early stages of your learning as building blocks, straightforward, linear, rule-based. You're following blueprints, mimicking techniques, staying within the lines. That's the conventional mind. It's useful, even necessary. But it's limited. It's flat. The dimensional mind, on the other hand, is expansive. It thinks in layers. It sees connections others miss. It plays with form. It challenges assumptions. When this part of you wakes up, you're no longer just absorbing knowledge, you're transforming it into something personal, powerful, and groundbreaking. Let's use an example from the book to bring this idea to life, the story of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Mozart was a musical prodigy from a young age, taught rigorously by his father. For years, he composed in the style of the time, structured, beautiful, but conventional. But after a long and intense apprenticeship, something shifted. He started experimenting. He began pushing the boundaries of harmony, rhythm, and emotion. He wrote from a deeper place, not to impress, but to express. This is what Greene means by the creative active phase, the moment when your voice emerges. And that moment is electrifying. But Greene doesn't romanticize this phase. It's not all inspiration and flow. It's a different kind of grind, one that demands focus, patience, and courage. Why courage? Because creating something new means stepping into the unknown. It means taking risks. It means failing. A lot. And it means resisting the temptation to play it safe and just imitate what works. This is where many people hesitate. They plateau. They cling to the comfort of what they already know. But masters? Masters push through. They learn to tolerate uncertainty. They become addicted not to success, but to exploration. So how do you awaken this dimensional mind in yourself? Greene lays it out clearly. First, you must accumulate a deep, working knowledge of your field. You need to be so fluent in the fundamentals that they become second nature. That gives you the freedom to bend, twist, and break the rules. Then, you need to actively experiment. Play with ideas. Try new methods. Follow your curiosity down strange paths. Don't be afraid to look foolish. This is about creativity in motion. Not waiting for inspiration to strike, but chasing it, wrestling with it, bringing it to life through deliberate practice. And perhaps most importantly, Greene urges you to embrace the process. Mastery isn't a straight line. This phase is messy. It's nonlinear. You'll create things that don't work. You'll go through dry spells. But if you keep showing up, if you keep creating, you will find your rhythm, and eventually your breakthrough. He also introduces a vital idea: the authentic voice. Every master has one. It's the unmistakable fingerprint they leave on everything they do. And it doesn't come from imitation. It comes from struggle, from experimentation, and from the relentless pursuit of what feels true to you. This phase is also about integration. It's when everything you've learned, from your mentors, your experiences, your failures, starts to synthesize. Ideas begin to collide in your mind. You make connections across disciplines. You see patterns where others see chaos. This is what separates the average from the extraordinary, the apprentice from the artist, the technician from the innovator. And Greene leaves us with this powerful reminder: you don't awaken the dimensional mind by thinking harder, you awaken it by doing more. Through consistent, disciplined action, the deeper parts of your mind begin to light up. Intuition sharpens. Creativity flows. And one day, what once felt impossible becomes second nature. In this phase, you're not just becoming better. You're becoming different. This is the moment when your work starts to carry your signature. When your ideas have weight. When you're not just participating in your field, you're shaping it. You're not just learning the craft anymore. You're becoming the master. Now, Chapter 6. Fuse the intuitive with the rational, mastery. Everything has led to this moment. The curiosity that pulled you toward your life's task. the years of invisible labor through apprenticeship. The powerful mentors who challenged and guided you. The people you learned to read, understand, and navigate. The long hours of creative trial and error. Now, in this final phase, you step into the rarest air of all. You become a master. In Chapter 6, Robert Greene takes us beyond skill, beyond knowledge, beyond creativity. He invites us into a space where something truly magical begins to happen. The moment when your mind, your body, your instincts, and your experience align so deeply, it feels like you're moving through the world with supernatural clarity. This is what Greene calls the fusing of the intuitive with the rational. Most people think of mastery as raw genius, something you're either born with or you're not. But Greene makes it absolutely clear, this final stage of mastery isn't about natural talent, it's about depth. It's about time. It's about fully embodying your craft to the point where the boundary between thought and action disappears. Think about athletes in the zone. Artists who create masterpieces without knowing where the inspiration came from. Entrepreneurs who make bold, perfect decisions in seconds. That's not luck. That's not magic. That's years, decades, of deep practice expressing itself as instinct. The rational mind learns step by step. It breaks things down, analyzes, plans. The intuitive mind? It synthesizes. It feels patterns. It acts swiftly, without hesitation. True mastery is when you no longer have to choose between the two, because they become one. Take the story of Freddie Roach, the legendary boxing trainer featured in the book. Roach was a solid fighter in his day. But when he transitioned into coaching, something in him came alive. After thousands of hours training fighters, studying footwork, watching punches from every possible angle, his eye became razor sharp. He didn't have to think about what was wrong in a fighter's movement, he just knew. He could predict what would happen in the ring before it even unfolded. That's intuition backed by experience. And that's what mastery feels like. It's a flow state, but not the kind that just appears when conditions are right. This is earned flow. Durable, reliable, and real. But Greene warns us, this stage doesn't come just from time served. You don't clock in for 20 years and magically arrive at mastery. You have to stay engaged. You have to remain curious, committed, alive in the process. You have to be willing to constantly refine and evolve. He compares this kind of presence to what martial artists call mind like water. It's not rigid. It's not reactive. It's fluid. When you reach this level, you no longer resist challenges, you move around them. You no longer fear uncertainty, you embrace it as your edge. And perhaps most importantly, this is the phase where you begin to think beyond yourself. Masters don't just succeed for their own sake. They contribute. They elevate their field. They pass on wisdom. They become the mentors that once shaped them. Greene describes this transition beautifully. It's the shift from student to teacher, from practitioner to innovator, from achiever to legacy maker. At this point, you've internalized so much that what once felt difficult now feels like breathing. What once required effort now flows from you with grace. Your mind is no longer cluttered with how. It's focused on why. And from that clarity comes your highest level of impact. But Greene reminds us, mastery is not a finish line. It's a way of being. Because even at the top, you keep learning. You stay humble. You push boundaries. And you protect the thing that got you here in the first place, your deep love for the process. That's what makes a master different. They don't do it for the applause. They do it because they must. Because the work has become a part of them. Because in doing it, they come alive. So whether your craft is in science or sports, business or music, art or architecture, this chapter asks you to honor the long game. To fall in love with repetition. To trust your inner voice. And to never stop reaching for the kind of mastery that makes you not just great at what you do, but someone the world remembers. Now, you've just walked through centuries of wisdom, lived through the stories of history's greatest minds, and absorbed one of the most profound roadmaps to human potential ever written. Mastery isn't just a guidebook. It's a philosophy. A way of life. And if you truly allow it to sink in, it can change everything. At its core, mastery asks you to do something radical in today's world. Slow down. Look within. And play the long game. We live in a society addicted to shortcuts, viral hacks, overnight fame, instant gratification. But Greene stands as a voice of defiance against that noise. He reminds us of something ancient, something sacred. The path to greatness is long, personal, and earned. It all starts with something deceptively simple: your life's task. You weren't born to be average. You weren't made to blend in or chase trends. You were designed to follow something deep, something you feel in your bones. This is your calling. And Greene's challenge to you is clear: dig into your earliest memories, revisit your childhood fascinations, pay attention to what energizes you, not what impresses others, but what moves you. Because your life's task isn't found in a job description. It's buried beneath your distractions, waiting for your attention. And once you name it, everything changes. But dreaming is the easy part. Next comes the apprenticeship. This is the grind. The quiet work. The phase no one wants to talk about. Greene says this is where most people quit, not because they lack talent, but because they lack patience. The apprenticeship tests your ego. It asks you to endure boredom, to make peace with obscurity, to be the student when you desperately want to prove yourself. But here's the thing: this is where you build your foundation. This is where you transform from enthusiastic beginner to future master. Every repetition, every correction, every lesson absorbed through silence and sweat, it's all stacking bricks towards something unshakable. You're not wasting time. You're preparing to shine. Now, once you've built that base, the game shifts. The world opens up. And you face your next challenge: people. Yes, skill is essential. But emotional intelligence? That's survival. Greene teaches you how to read people like maps, to navigate power like water, to spot envy, sabotage, and manipulation before they strike. This isn't about being cold or calculating, it's about being conscious. Awake. Aware. And when you've mastered that terrain, you step into the creative active phase. This is where you stop following the rules and start rewriting them. You're no longer imitating your mentors, you're building on their shoulders. Your voice becomes sharper. Your ideas braver. Your courage stronger. It's in this phase that innovation is born. And finally, after years of dedication, mistakes, growth, and inner work, you arrive at the summit: mastery. But mastery doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock at your door with fireworks. It emerges. Quietly. From the inside out. One day, you move through your craft with such precision, such fluidity, that even you're surprised by what you're capable of. It's the fusion of the rational and the intuitive. It's knowledge turned into instinct. It's not thinking, it's knowing. You don't just play the game anymore, you are the game. But here's the most important part: mastery is not an end. It's a beginning. You don't reach the top and sit still. You evolve. You pass it on. You become the teacher, the mentor, the force that lights someone else's fire. Because mastery, in its highest form, is generous. It's humble. And it's eternal. So what does this book leave you with? It leaves you with a challenge: to stop chasing what's easy, to quit living on autopilot, and to commit, fully, deeply, bravely, to the one thing only you can bring into this world: your craft, your voice, your legacy. You won't always feel certain. You won't always feel fast. But if you follow the steps, if you return to your calling, endure your apprenticeship, navigate people wisely, unleash your creativity, and integrate your mind with your instincts, you will become unstoppable. And most importantly, you will become free. Free to build something that matters. Free to express your truth without fear. Free to leave behind a story worth remembering. Because in the end, mastery isn't just about being great at something. It's about becoming fully, unapologetically yourself. And that is the greatest power of all. If you found this summary insightful and valuable, don't forget to show your support by subscribing to the Mindful Brief on YouTube. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this audiobook summary, share it with your peers, friends, or family who might benefit from it, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. Your engagement helps us create more in-depth and valuable content for you. Stay tuned for more summaries, insights, and strategies to elevate your knowledge and career. Subscribe now and be part of the journey.